This week on Cruisin' New England. They started building Pontiacs in the 1920s. The guy we're going to meet today has one from every decade. I'm Paul Manette. I want to welcome you to another edition of Cruisin' New England. Today we're in the mid-coast of Maine. We're going to have a look at a parade of Pontiacs and a mini museum of memorabilia. All this and more on Cruisin' New England. All my life, I've been cruising New England, meeting great people, visiting amazing places, and discovering wonderful classic and custom car collections, nostalgic automobilia, and so much more. Come on and join our adventure. I'm Paul Manette. Let's go cruising. Closed captioning for Cruisin' New England on Nesson is being brought to you by New England Recycling. Waste put to work.
This episode of Cruisin' New England with Paul Manette is brought to you by McMulkin Chevrolet, New England's largest volume Corvette dealer.
Hi, I'm Jim Grundy. If this should happen to your collector car, are you properly protected? Standard insurance companies typically try to reduce your claim with deductions for age, wear and tear, depreciation, and condition. At Grundy, we don't do any of those things. We write agreed value policies, which means the amount listed on your policy is the amount we'll spend if you have an accident. So for the absolute best claims service and best insurance for your collector car, call us or visit us today at grundy.com.
Find out what's happening. Get up-to-date information as I travel throughout New England and beyond. To get exclusive information and behind-the-scenes photos, join me on Facebook. Hi, I'm Paul Manette, and I want to tell you about my new book, Collections American Style. I've teamed up with Berkshire Hills Publishing to create this beautiful full-color limited edition book. It features hundreds of full-color photographs, collector profiles, and historical tidbits. You'll see some of the finest automobile collections in the country, and memorabilia from the Wizard of Oz to the world's largest Kodak camera collection. Reserve your copy today at cruisingNewEngland.com.
Make it McMulkin Chevrolet, New England's largest volume new Corvette dealership.
While cruising New England, check out McMulkin, where there's always 250 new Corvettes to choose from. And a large selection of rare vintage classics, like this 1967 427 Tri-Power Corvette, or this classic 1969 Z28 Camaro, to a 1962 340 horsepower Corvette. Check them out at McMulkin.net.
The Thompson Auto Group.
We're back, and I'm in the mid-coast of Maine. I'm here with Charlie Huntington. Nice to meet you, Charlie.
Same here.
You have quite a collection here.
Thank you very much.
But I guess you must be Mr. Pontiac around here.
Yep, that's how the whole collection started. Originally, I started with my 66 GTO that you'll see coming up, and my first thought as a collector was I wanted to have one GTO of every year. And as I got more and more immersed in the hobby, I got more interested in older cars, and by going to the Pontiac National, some of the bigger Pontiacs. So the current theme of the collection is having at least one Pontiac from every decade.
Charlie, one from every decade? Where are we going to start?
Well, we'll start with the 1926 Pontiac. 1926 was the first year that Pontiac came into existence. Pontiac started as a companion car to the Oakland. The Oakland went back to about 1908. Up till 32, they ran together, but the Pontiac proved to be more popular, so Oakland wound up going out of existence and the Pontiac carried on.
Tell us a little bit about the power this has.
Well, in this era, the Pontiac was known as the chief of the sixes. And a lot of cars of this era, and this would be kind of the end of the Model T era, the Model A's running in, but those were all four-cylinder cars. So Pontiac really featured their six-cylinder. And this one happens to be a coupe model, which is fairly desirable. You're still in the era of wood spoke wheels. It's tight to get in and out of, but they still drive kind of nice. I like it just because it is the first year. Eventually, perhaps we'll make a little bit more car out of it, but right now it's just a pleasure to have because of its rarity and being the first year.
What are we going to have a look at next?
The next step is our 1929 Pontiac. And this one's in a little better shape. It's been restored. It was another car that I found on eBay. Very similar to the 26. The radiator grill's a little different. You get the split grill. A lot of the Oaklands had that. So Pontiac wound up picking up that feature.
Is this something that you did a restoration on, or did you buy it as it?
I bought it pretty much as is. One of the typical eBay stories that had a little bit more issues with it when I got it. The guy promised to step up and help me with it, and after the deadline for feedback expired, so didn't he.
Charlie, we've seen the 20s. Let's have a look at the 30s.
Sounds great. This is a 1937. I purchased this car in 1999 at the Owl's Head annual auction. It's a very original car. It's original paint, original interior. Pontiac, typically in this era, had a 6-cylinder line and an 8-cylinder line. This is the 6-cylinder line. Very good running car, has about 34,000 miles on it now, had about 29 when I bought it. I really enjoy driving this car. It's very smooth. It's just a very solid original car. There's nothing like an original car, so this one's been really great.
Now, the trend now is, in car collecting, I see, is they don't want you restoring them anymore in the classic car era, which is the 30s. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a matter of how good a shape the car is. Finding something like this as a timepiece, I feel like I'm the steward of the car more than the owner. I'm the caretaker for the rest of the car's life.
Preserving history, that's what it's all about. What do you have under the hood on this?
This one's a 6-cylinder. It's got a great big shifter, reminds you of a truck on the floor, which was actually Pontiac's last year in '38. They went to the Collins shift. So that makes it a nice driver because it shifts really smooth with that big floor-mounted shifter.
Well, tell me about the interior.
Interior is very original. Some of it shows it a little bit, but very, very presentable. A couple little things I need to do to tweak it up, but generally in very good shape. This car also features its original 1966 inspection sticker from when it left Rhode Island.
That is really cool. Charlie, we're going to have a look at next.
Next, we're going to see the 1948 Pontiac convertible. This is another car that came from an Owl's Head auction. This one is an 8-cylinder model, so you've got some difference there. It's a little more torquey down the road. It has the 3 on the tree, which right now is a little challenged. This has been a good driving car, but before I drive it a lot more, I've got to work a little slop out of the linkage, I think. Interior is pretty good on it. It's kind of a leatherette. I don't think it's original. I think they use more of almost a weave pattern on the seats, and this is all solid. So I think this car has been done, but not done to a really high standard, but excellent driver. We really enjoy this on a nice summer day.
Will you kind of like to keep these things original? Will you try to bring it up a level? You're just going to keep it the way it is?
This will probably stay the way it is just because of finances and time for a while. This is a car that I would restore. The paint on it's got a little bit too much metal in it for the era. There's things that aren't quite original about it, so enjoy driving it now, and maybe someday I can do a class restoration to it.
Charlie, you promised me later on you're going to take me for a ride. You said choose any car you want. This is the one I want.
There we go.
So later on, you think we could go for a ride?
Absolutely. My wife would be proud of your choice.
When we come back, a lot more Cruisin' New England with Charlie and his Pontiacs right here on Cruisin' New England.
This episode of Cruisin' New England with Paul Manette is brought to you by McMulkin Corvette, where there is always 250 Corvettes to choose from.
Order a bunch of parts to get ready for the car show this weekend?
And I got a hot deal, too.
You think? Think again.
Oh, man.
Tired of back orders? You need NPD. With 4 strategically located superstores, most orders arrive within 1 to 3 business days. National Parts Depot has quality restoration parts for Mustang, Camaro, Chevelle, GTO, Firebird, Ford, and Chevy truck. For your free catalog, go online or call toll-free.
Do you have a child with food allergies? Does your school need help managing food allergies? I'm Gina Minette-Lee, a nationally recognized food allergy author, educator, and consultant. I provide a common-sense, fact-based approach to managing food allergies at home and at school. For more information, visit foodallergyconsulting.com.
We're the Hill family, and we are Imperial Worldwide. We are the largest insulation supplier in Central Mass. We specialize in insulation, vinyl siding, seamless gutters, and closet-made shelving. And we are going to save you money. We're the Hills!
I'm Lieutenant Gary Scott. Green Mountain State has beautiful sights for all to enjoy. To protect our great state, Vermont will not tolerate drug driving. Drug recognition experts are being deployed statewide to keep our roads safe. If you get high and drive, you will be arrested for DUI.
Your special moments are something to remember. For weddings, portraits, and special events, contact Sparks Fly Photography.
Would you like more information about the Cruisin' New England Car Show series? Go to our website at cruisingNewEngland.com.
Celebrate the Big E's 100th anniversary, September 16th to October 2nd in West Springfield, Massachusetts.
We're back with our Parade of Pontiacs with Charlie Huntington. Where's the parade go next?
Next we get up to the 50s, and this is a 54 Chieftain, and it's a two-door model, post, and it's got a 3 on the tree. It's kind of unique because of how much of a stripper that it really is. When you get into this era of the 50s, you're really dominated a lot by the 8-cylinder cars. And this one being equipped the way it is kind of unique. This car is really nothing special. I bought this so I could have a 50s car in the collection. When I first got it, I drove it some, and I really enjoyed driving the car.
Behind us here, we have something that's really hot. It's station wagons. And this is a beauty. Tell us about it.
I just picked this one up. This is another eBay find. It's a 1962 Catalina Safari. It's not a 9-passenger wagon. Everybody remarks how big this car is. It's actually not the biggest car in the fleet. That would have been the Bonneville. So this being a Catalina, it has the 8-lug wheels on it, which really dress up the 60s Pontiacs. One of the big things that attracted me to it. I was targeting a 62. I liked the nose and the rear of the 62. And I said, geez, if I'm going to get a 62, maybe I should look at wagons. As you say, they're the hot thing right now. And it's something I didn't have in the collection as a body style. So it's a nice looking car. It's probably the nicest car that I have, but kind of came in by accident, but I guess it wasn't a bad accident.
Charlie, you shop cars online.
Absolutely.
Do you have any advice for our viewers?
A lot of people are really leery about buying cars on eBay. I think the only car that I really felt I was a little bit burned on was the 29 that had some damage, and it wasn't that substantial. I've been one just to plunge in, take a chance. When I bought this car, it was over in Vermont. It was very near Bennington, so it was a very nice ride over to get it. The gentleman I bought it from was very nice. He filled the tank up with gas and did a lot of little things he didn't need to do. So you wind up meeting a nice guy and getting a nice car, but you do have to be somewhat careful because you can get burnt.
You certainly can. What are we going to see next now?
Next we'll move on to the 60s.
So Charlie, this is an era that I'm really familiar with because this is when I grew up. Tell us about what you have now.
This one is a 66 Catalina 4-door. Very basic car, 80,000 original miles. This is another one that's largely original paint. I found this one in Washington, Maine on Craigslist about 2 years ago and bought the car for $2,000. And I've only got another couple thousand in it getting it fixed up, and it had a little bit of rust on the bottom of the rear quarters. My classic car body man took care of that. We put a headliner in it, had some mice in it, which I think was one of the reasons I was able to get a good deal on it. And I put in a stereo that fits nicely in the dash without cutting it. And don't have a lot of money in total in the car. Drives like a dream. It's got the half-clear steering wheel in it that is absolutely 100% flawless. I drove this car to Louisville, Kentucky to the Pontiac Nationals this summer. So that was a little over a 2,000-mile round trip, and the car performed perfectly.
Well, I know one thing, you didn't get too good of a gas mileage on this. What do you got under the hood?
This one's got a 389 two-barrel, and it actually does pretty well. On the road like that, this car got 17 miles to the gallon. Yeah.
What are we gonna have a look at next?
Next is the 66 GTO, and this is really the core for me. A local club member had this car. He owned it for 14 years, and he sold this car to me for $3,000. I have a little bit more than that in it now. The restoration was completed in '97, We immediately took it down to the GTO Nationals in Atlanta, Georgia. All in all, I've driven this car, coincidentally, about 66,000 miles since 1997 when I restored it. Excellent driver. This one has a 389 tri-power. When I bought the car, it had a 283 Chevy and a 3-speed in it. The hood scoop was painted white and it said GOAT in letters on it. And we made it much more original. And when I did the Pontiac historical paper on it, it turns out it is an original tri-power 4-speed car. So we put it back to that and drive it a lot.
You talk about value. This is a car that's really gone up in value. How do you feel about it?
I guess I'm blessed in a way. This car's got enough road rash on it that it doesn't scare me to drive it. That's what I like to do with my cars, and I have that sense. I think about that every once in a while. It's like, what's going to happen when this car is so valuable I don't want to take it out anymore? And I just don't want to feel that. I want to feel like I can drive all my cars. I'm happy, very happy the way it is, and to keep driving it long distances.
Awesome. A lot more of Charlie and his Pontiac Parade when we come back on Cruisin' New England. So I'm back here with Charlie Huntington. Great display of automobiles, but your memorabilia and automobilia is awesome. Now, I noticed here beside me here, you're starting to build a little gas station, aren't you?
Absolutely. I thought that having all the smalls scattered around the garage, people wouldn't really work their way behind the cars and see a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I thought the way the cars are sitting, I had plenty of room in there to put that in, and it puts everything together for people to see in one swoop.
Now, on the walls, I mean, you've got some beautiful porcelain and metal signs here. They're worth a lot of money, but they're in excellent condition. Let's start off over here with the Gulf sign.
The Gulf sign, that's an older style Gulf sign, the full round. I found that one locally over in China, Maine.
Charlie, you really enjoy the hunt, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head with that.
Now, I see a Texaco sign. That's hot. Texaco's a hot item right now.
Yep, I have a couple of Texacos. That's a big one. That one's probably 50s era. That one's a very, very nice shaped sign.
Standard Oil Company of New York.
That's a very interesting sign. There was a truck museum in Hillsborough, New Hampshire, and it was a very famous collection, about 250 trucks. I bought that sign very inexpensively at the end of the day at that auction, so it was a very good find. That was the Kemp Museum in Hillsborough, New Hampshire.
Wow, awesome. So Charlie, tell me what your favorites are.
Well, that's really a tough question, because all these signs have different stories about finding them and acquiring them. But one of the ones that I like, because it's a centerpiece of the collection, and it was a great experience to get it, is the round neon that's above our heads. That was sold at the Dingman auction in New Hampshire 3 or 4 years ago, and it was RM Auction Company that's nationally famous.
One of the best.
And top-notch day, top-notch event, and buying that sign in the midst of that collection was a very special experience.
My viewers know I love gas pumps, and I know you have a recent acquisition here.
Absolutely. My theme on the gas pumps is the same as the cars. I'm trying to show the evolution and all the different decades. This year when we went to Hershey, my target was to get a visible pump, a tall visible pump. And there's a father and son team that I've bought from previously, and the father this year was 87 years old. And the son is actually restoring the gas pumps because it gives him something to do with his father. And they do a wonderful job and they have reasonable prices. We got down there early, made a beeline over to them, and I was able to pick up a Fry visible. It's a Model 17 5-gallon pump.
It's beautiful. They did a wonderful job with it. You have so much stuff here. I'm like a kid in a candy shop. I see a Firestone tire one over there. That's awesome.
It's an interesting sign because there's a lot of patina on the sign, but the letters are fairly crisp.
Red Crown Gasoline, where's that from?
That's another Dingman collection sign.
So Charlie, I mean, you have some tin signs here, you have some plastic signs here, and you got porcelain signs. When you're out looking, are you looking specifically for porcelain? And give me some of the variations in the values.
Well, one feature that really is big on signs, no matter if they're old or new, is colors and graphics and how much they pop. So that's always a big important part of it. In terms of the different types of signs, obviously neons are the most valuable that there are. Porcelains probably come next, depending on their age, the condition, subject matter, and what. There's a lot of variables go into it. I'm not so much worried about the value. I want to get a fair value of what I'm paying, but it's really, if I see a sign that appeals to me, it could be something really new or it could be something really old, but if I think it'll fit in, I grab it.
So you're not a dealer, you're a collector. Isn't that fair to say?
I think that's a fair statement. I do actually have 3 signs that I'm looking to sell right now, but everything else is pretty much for the collection.
But you're looking to sell it maybe to get the money to buy some more stuff?
Yeah, that as well. They're also duplicates.
That's a good reason. Charlie, obviously you're a Pontiac guy. Of all this memorabilia that I see in here, my favorite, and I'm sure it's probably one of yours, is that beautiful Pontiac neon sign.
Absolutely. That's a 1940s era dealer sign. That was another one that we found down at Hershey. It happened to be in the section right in front of Giant Center. Every year when we do Hershey, we'll do a different pattern. So you get to different spaces first or last, see different stuff. Well, it happened to be near the end of Hershey, and by the time I got to this sign, I already was running into friends of mine that know me. They were running up to me and saying, Charlie, you got to see the sign. You got to see the sign.
When we come back, we're going to see a lot more of Charlie's collection right here on Cruisin' New England.
When you're visiting Vermont, never drive while distracted or impaired, and always remember to buckle up. That's the best way to ensure everyone gets home safely.
Make it McMulkin Chevrolet, New England's largest volume new Corvette dealership.
While cruising New England, check out McMulkin, where there's always 250 new Corvettes to choose from. And a large selection of rare vintage classics, like this 1967 427 Tri-Power Corvette, or this classic 1969 Z28 Camaro, to a 1962 340 horsepower Corvette. Check them out at McMulkin.net.
The Thompson Auto Group.
Imperial Worldwide insulation vinyl siding, copper and seamless aluminum gutters, closet-made shelving systems, and zero-clearance fireplaces. We strive to make the building process easy and fun. Check out Cruisin' New England Productions' website. You'll see updated information about our fun car show series, including the Magical Mystery Cruise, the Circle of Champions, the Super Wheel Showdown, and the Spooktacular Cruisin' Classic. Also subscribe to Cruisin' New England magazine. We feature some of the hottest rides in the Northeast, along with event listings and a whole lot more. Don't miss a single issue. And if you want more information about sponsorships, advertising, or personal appearances by Paul Manette, email us at cruisenewengland@aol.com.
Building Maintenance Services. We've been servicing the Northeast since 1990. We service and repair revolving doors, automatic and handicap doors. We can help you design an attractive, efficient entrance you can be proud of. Protect your investment and secure your property with yearly maintenance contracts and 24-hour service. Whether in office, medical, or commercial high-rise, we'll get the job done right for you. Building Maintenance Services.
Do you have a vintage car, boat, motorcycle, or airplane collection, along with some memorabilia? Would you like to be featured on our show? Email us at cruisenewengland@aol.com.
We're back, and I'm with Charlie Huntington, and the parade of Pontiacs continues with the 1970s. I got to tell you something. I've seen a lot of your cars. We're going to see a few more. This one's my favorite.
Well, thank you. This is a 1977 Pontiac Can-Am. Pontiac only made this car for 1 year. And what they did is they dumped in the Trans Am motor, which was kind of the last vestige of Pontiac muscle car power at the time, did the striping color scheme, and they did a spoiler on the back, and they did an older hood scoop, which is a little different than what they were really running on the Trans Ams in 77. They were going to make 5,000 of these, but they broke one of the molds that made the rear scoop. And they knew that for every one of these they sold, it was just one less Grand Prix. They were going to sell a Pontiac either way. So they didn't want to put the money back into more tooling. They discontinued the car after producing a total of 1,377.
How lucky are you to get one?
And in this eBay case, I knew the owners, I knew the guy that was actually doing the listing and everything. I was the high bidder, didn't meet the reserve, but we worked out a deal after the auction, and that was a no-brainer because I knew the guy selling it.
What do we got under the hood?
Under the hood is a 400. It's very interesting if you're a numbers guy. Pontiac engines are always identified by a 2-digit code. A lot of the tables don't even show this code engine in a Le Mans body. It was really a Trans Am engine, and they dumped that in. It was a little bit higher performance than what they would have had in a Le Mans of that era.
I love the interior because it's a very comfortable interior.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a very nice driving car and just a great handling road car.
Charlie, what's up next?
Up next is another 77. This one is a 77 Trans Am. This was made popular, obviously, by the Smokey and the Bandit movie. 77 was the year they used in the movie. I bought this car from another fellow club member in New Hampshire. This was the car I was targeting. I wanted T-tops. I wanted Pontiac motor because this is the era they started using some of the Olds motors. And I would have liked to have a 4-speed, but I figured if I made my list of wants too big, I'd never find the right car. Well, it turns out this one is a 4-speed, so
lucky
it was
you.
A great find.
Great.
Yeah, I've since had a correct engine rebuilt for it and put in, so this is a numbers matching car at this point. This is original paint. It does have some patina with the lack of checking on the hood and the tops of the fenders. Interior is all original except for the headliner. This is one I'm definitely keeping the way it is.
What are we going to see next?
Next, we'll step into the 80s. This car here is a 1988, and now you're getting into the era where some of these cars, a lot of people don't really consider them collectibles. I get fascinated by the Sunbird Turbo model, which makes it somewhat desirable. It's an era that isn't as exciting as the 60s or whatnot right now, but I think will become more and more into people's mind as time goes on.
Unlike some of the other cars, great gas mileage.
Absolutely, and this is the only one in the collection with AC.
Charlie, last but not least, do I see a Fiero over there? Now, there was a time when Pontiac people told you to stay away from these.
They originally had a recall issue and kind of an overblown fire scare in them. And they claimed the recall fixed that 100%. That was in the early 80s. The Fiero started in 1984. This one's in 1988. That's the last year they made the Fiero. This one's very unique because it's 88 GT. It's a 5-speed, which is obviously desirable. They only made 614 with T-tops that year in the GT, so that's a pretty rare option. But even rarer than that is the yellow color. They only did 241 of yellow. So if you stretch it a little bit and add up the 5-speed, the yellow color, and the T-tops, this car is one of 18 that's in the registry, and they have captured all of them.
So Charlie, before we leave, you promised me a ride in that 48 convertible.
Absolutely, let's go.
Okay. I've had a great time here today in the mid-coast of Maine. I want to thank Charlie Huntington for a wonderful time. I'm Paul Manette. Until next time, I'll be cruising New England.